pressure is gone, and he's forced to come back the inside channel again. This was reminiscent of Tyrone and Kerry a number of years ago in a football context, and this is far from being puke hurling. This is actually pressure at the top end of the field, and I think Cork, as a result, were forced into playing pressure balls into their forwards, and as a result, their forwards never got the quality ball they needed to really, I suppose, impose themselves on the game.
But in fairness, Ollie, in the context of the match, we should credit Cork because Clare kept going 3 or 4, 5 points ahead, but Cork never let go.
Exactly, and again, I suppose if this was a boxing match, Clare would have won on points very easily. But one interesting statistic here: Cork had, I think, three wides in the whole game. They were working off scraps. You can see here, Keane McCarthy won a vital point. Again, Daniel Carney, again, two points there today from this guy. Another big game. But this was all in the context of really getting destroyed, I suppose, on their own puck out. Seamus Harden, what a guy! Fantastic catch there over Conor Ryan. I think this was the jewel of the
battle,
day.
Yeah.
But both guys again in the air. You can see the ball breaking out here. Harnedy won a vital free. Now look, they didn't convert this, unfortunately. But this was all at times in the game when they weren't getting quality ball, they weren't getting clean ball. But they had to
kept them alive.
Well, they had to maximise all their possession, because they just weren't getting the supply they wanted. This was a class point. Pat Horgan shortened the hurley. Brendan Bugler on his back over the bar at a critical stage in the game.
And when you talk about the Clare ferocity, Cork still only had 3 wides, which gives them, if there was that pressure on them.
Well, this is the thing. You can't fault any of the Clare backs there. They've done everything. They were on their man's back.
But good finishing from Cork.
Fantastic finishing. Absolutely fantastic finishing.
All right, well, Donlogue, if Clare won on points, if it was a boxing match, at the same time, Cork had the knockout blow in that they got goals.
Yeah.
But there's one point I'd just like you to explore. Clare had played a sweeper previously, and there was talk, would they or would they not play with a sweeper? Would a sweeper have made a difference?
Yeah, well, so Des, you asked me to take a look at that, and there was a lot of talk before the game in terms of would Davy go with that, and there was a lot of talk before the game in terms of would Davy go with the sweeper, but he actually didn't go with that, and from early days, Conor Ryan played full back, and Pat Donlan played in the middle of the field. All credit here to Conor Lahan, taking it on, hadn't a great first half, but if you look, 4 Cork players against 4 Clare players. The sweeper, Pat Donlan, a long way out the field, where he would have been playing inside around the house. Again, if you look at the situation here, the ball's played in from William Egan. Again, 3 Cork players versus 3 Clare players. In the semi-final against Limerick, you didn't see that happening. You saw Pat Donlan in where we put the arrow. And again, that gives a better opportunity to the attackers when they're not faced against an extra man. Here is probably the only mistake Donovan made during the game, in that there's a few times when you shouldn't be in front of the man. That was one of them. Great finish by Patrick Cronin. But if you look at this, you've got 4 Cork players versus 4 Clare players, and Patrick Donlan well out the field. Now, if you looked at the game today, outside of the goal, you'd say Patrick Donlan went on Lochran McLaughlin and had a great game, but it's a results business, and I'm fairly confident that Davey will be looking at that closely for the next day.
I'd say at the same time, though, at the start of the game, up to, we'll say, 55 minutes, you'd say everything was going great for Clare. Their positioning, their tactics, everything was perfect. Now, after 55 minutes, all right, it was 113 to 21 points. Right, they were 5 points ahead. And then you'd say, maybe we should have put in the sweeper then. 15 minutes to go, Clare 5 points up. With the sweeper, would they have held out? So you can be sure Davy's looking at that, and we'll look at this, and he'll say, well, maybe we might have to move a bit faster from now on, and change our tactics during the game, not stick rigidly. Now, I think he was dead right when he did his start, because he gave him that great start.
Well, it worked. I mean, and it worked absolutely perfectly. It killed the Cork midfield. They were both substituted.
I mean, it's easy for us to sit here now and say, oh, yeah, after 55 minutes, you were 5 points up. Why didn't you change? It's very easy to say that. But, Davy is so analytical. He'll look at it and he'll say, right, if we go 5 points ahead again and 10 minutes to go, we'll have our sweeper back.
Okay.
But I suppose the one thing that was interesting today was the amount of goal-scoring chances Cork had. Now, to be fair, Cork had to chase the game as well. But, people said at the start of the game, whoever was going to score, even 2 goals was going to win the game. But it was a case of Cork had to attack. As Gerard said, it's easy to isolate a singular moments in the game. But you know,
They had
tactically,
3 other chances, you feel, yeah.
well, to be fair, Clare didn't create very many goal scoring chances. And I mean, that's one thing they'll be critical of. But again, you know, they had such a solid platform to score 24 points, and I think they missed another 9 or 10. So, like, tactically, I think you'd have to say Davy got it more right than he did wrong.
Absolutely. Both sets of fans are travelling home, long journey home, but they'll both think, God, but for something, we could have won it. And you picked out a couple of tiny margins.
Well, you see, that's the whole thing, you know. The old story, the game of inches. We've all heard that expression so often, you know. And here you have, you know, a save down at one end, the ball is cleared. You know, I think it's John Connolly gets it out here for the finish. And when the ball is driven down the field, it could have been a goal at one side. John Connolly way back in his own half. You know, it'll just show you how these fellas know their places. And up comes Podge, right-hand side, and puts the ball over the bar. So, you know, at one side, Podge is the hero at this side. Now, here's the ball that hits the crossbar. It's 63 minutes gone, a goal for Clare, the game is over. I'm always telling Podge to give up that football and concentrate on the hurling. He kicks it, but there was very little alternative. The ball goes up, too many people converge on the ball, nobody behind, I think, Stephen Milan. He goes through, and from here on, it's danger, red light flashing. But at the end of the day, it's a stroke of genius from Patrick Cronin. We cannot deny that. It was a brilliant shot from Cronin.
A couple of you last on Logue, did Podge evade? Because he kicked early and kind of jumped because Anthony Nash was coming out with his feet up like a sliding tackle. Is that a fair comment?
It's a hard one to call. The one thing, Anthony Nash was really fast out, and it's like you've got a split second for Podge Collins to make up his mind there. It'd be a bit harsh to...
All right then. Well, speaking of goalkeepers, one of the big debating points that we had, anybody said, we were all chatting about, was the free in particular, Nash versus Kelly, and so much debate from it.
Yeah, look, both goalkeepers were in the thick of the action again today. There's, you know, great save here by Patrick Kelly early on in the game. You know, it's always very tempting to put your hand on it, especially when players are in around. That's a really hard ball to save, a ball that bounces just in front of you. This penalty here, or 21-yard free, look, I'd like to look at it that, in fairness to Patrick Kelly, he was going to be facing a rocket. And look at the bravery of the man throwing himself into it here. Was he allowed to do that? That's another question. Again, great save here from Anthony Nash. Like, that takes serious reflexes to be able to get down like that and make a save. But not alone did he do that, he picked up the ball and cleared it.
Yeah.
Now, Patrick Kelly, for this one, won't be overly happy. You know, fair play to Conor Lehane, like I said, he had the guts after not a great first half to take it on. But it is the harder side for the goalkeeper, but he won't be happy with it. Anthony Nash, what a bullet. There's no keeper, all the great keepers you could talk about down through the years, I don't think there's any of them would save a shot like that.
But, you know, it's really interesting in terms of he advances forward. Here's another one now.
Yeah, and this one, like, I know you're talking about the feet out, but to be fair to Anthony, he was very fast off his line. You know, the crossbars in Croke Park are higher than any other crossbar in the game. And you know,
I suppose if Podge had risen the ball, had just got into his hand, the legs would have come in contact with him, and then you'd be talking penalty.
You'd be talking penalty because Anthony Nash was committed.
Yeah, he was.
Cyril.
Yeah,
but like I said, it's a split second for Podge, I think.
Which brings us back to the point that Anthony Nash seems to, like, to his advantage, moves the ball a few yards. And Pat Kelly comes out. They both took about 7 yards.
What was the gap?
It's a hard one to, you know. If you look at the rule states that the players have to be 20 yards away from where the ball is struck, right? But sure, if a man is throwing the ball in 7 or 8 yards, then you haven't. The only way you're going to be 20 yards away is if you back into the net. So it's very hard to blame Patrick Kelly in that situation. And as I said, I prefer to look at it. The bravery.
And it was gutsy, as you said. Yeah.
Gutsy. Look,
but it's a fault in the rule. You know, the rule doesn't take into account a 21-yard free. You know, that you can. How can if he rises the ball? He's on the 14 by the time he hits it. How can you be 21 yards on the ball when he strikes it?
So it's a flaw with the rule for how many years? Because there's never been a penalty taker has taken the ball and struck it from the line.
There's only one man. There's only one man. The man who revised the rule book. Your good friend Frank down in Cork. I'm sure he'll come up with some solution to that.
Leave Frank alone.
Here we go. For an opposing player to be nearer than 20 metres, that's a foul. That's a technical foul.
But it's a faulty rule. How can that work?
But I mean, well, obviously Anthony isn't meant to advance 5 yards either in lifting the ball.
When you're taking a penalty, you're going to come inside the line. You're going to be going towards the goalkeeper, even if he stays in his line.
And see the penalty for the above foul, free puck 13 metres more advantageous.
That'd be an interesting one. Yeah. You want to be a brave man to stand in front of Anthony Nash there?
He was nearly that close anyway. OK, now, on social media, there were a lot of complaints about the referee's performance. Brian Gavin, don't look.
Well, look, hurling is a really hard game to referee, Des. I think it's different than other sports. Other sports are maybe very technical. You can't do certain things. You can't maybe go forwards. You can't do whatever. Our games are free flowing, and that's the beauty of them. You can hit the ball, but you can kick it. You can go forward. You can go back. You can go as high as you want. So it's a really, really hard game to referee, to be fair to Brian Gavin.
All right, then. Well, let's have a look. Clare in the first half were unhappy, Ger. One of the big talking points was Shane O'Neill in the first half.
Shane O'Neill's tap on Darragh Conan, yeah. Now, I was down the other side of the field. I wouldn't blame Brian Gavin in this instance now, because we were so far away from it, we didn't even realise that anything had happened. The ball comes in, it's cleared by Nash. Now, look at Shane O'Neill. Just a totally deliberate stroke on Darragh Conan's helmet. Striking to the head. It's a red card. No question about it. It's a red card.
Absolutely red card, yeah.
You can't strike a man into the head with a hurley, does,
okay.
But I think, to be fair to...
Sorry, go ahead. Just on this, Joe, yeah.
But the one interesting one about this, sorry, Joe, for coming in, is that I actually think here, right, and I would be critical of Brian Gavin, I'm not so sure he knew what the rule was. That might be a bit harsh on him, because in the second half, we saw him going into the goalkeepers and telling them that they couldn't advance. Why wasn't he making the call early days?
Yeah, now there were frees given for those chances.
Well, this is a crazy free now with Dave McInerney here. He's fouled twice. He's chopped down twice across his hands twice. And what does he do? Give him a free against him for overcarrying. I mean, that was in the first half. It was a crucial juncture of the game. It brings Cork back into the game with an easy free again. Totally. And I don't know what. I have great regard for Brian. I've always regarded him as a cool referee, doesn't get carried away, but he just was never up to the plate. As you said, he wasn't up with the play today. He didn't seem, maybe he's fit enough, but he didn't seem fit enough today to keep up with the play. And some of his decisions were, very inconsistent. And he booked a few Cork players even in the second half, and I could see no reason for it.
I think even the second half, I think he was very conscious of the fact that he had given soft frees to Cork, and I suppose, to be fair, he tried to balance the books in the second half. But
that doesn't make it any better, though, does it?
Well,
but the key thing is, the thing that frustrates players more than anything is inconsistency.
Yeah.
And Brian Gavin was inconsistent in how he refereed the game today.
Did you all agree with that for you?
But I think there's a general lack of consistency anyway. Again, I like the way Brian Gavin referees, because he tends to let the game go, but today was the day where he had to apply certain technical rules, like, even that instance, Shane O'Neill, there's no two ways about it.
He never looked in charge of the game today. When you're looking out, you often read the body language, and he just never looked like a man who was in charge of himself or in charge of the game today, and making those kind of decisions that were, everybody in the place could see that they were completely and utterly idiosyncratic to say the very least. But that leads to an awful lot of, unease among players. They don't know when to tackle. Stephen McDonald was booked for it. It's a very simple foul on Posh Collins. It was doubtful if even it was a free.
Okay. But when you say that, Ali, is Brian Gavin allowed to referee the game as he wants? That's the thing I always question, And I know referees are not machines. They're bound to have their own individual styles. But it appears as if different referees are applying different rules to the game.
Okay, but people gave out, and rightly so, about Pat Horgan sending off, which technically was a free, and there was an outcry, which technically was a red card. Yeah. There was an outcry. Like there's your counter argument. You know what I mean? So
he was technically correct at the time.
You know what I mean? He technically applied it, but we were here lambasting the sending off.
Today was different. It was different. It was different. He just wasn't in control.
Hang on, and the other way you three are frustrated with inconsistency of referees. Referees are fed up with the inconsistency of RTE panels.
But there's the other side of this, to be fair. A referee is entitled to just a poor game no more than a player is entitled to a poor game, and really wasn't his best day today.
Let's finish with the way we should finish on a match like today. It was just magic, wasn't it?
It was just the glory of hurling. Yeah. That was today. What a glorious game it is. Now here's Podge, our magical Podge for all over the year. Yeah. Here he is turning into his right-hand side. When Podge was at school, he couldn't hit the ball off his right-hand side. Now he's scoring nearly every point of his right-hand side. Now Clare Lehane was just after scoring the goal at that time, remember, and they were a point down. So the next score was going to be vital. There he comes down the wing and puts it over now. Here was one of the greatest points you'll ever see. Really, the winning should be the winning point really in an All-Ireland final. No backswing whatsoever. You know, a new way of hitting the ball, coming up from underneath it, so that he couldn't be hooked, even though Brendan Bugler was doing everything right, no fault whatsoever. But the wrist work involved in that is absolutely phenomenal. And then how Clare worked. This is as much a tribute to Davy as anybody else. How Clare worked, didn't panic, no throwing the ball into the full forward line. How Clare worked the possession, got the loose man into space, and who's there? Donald O'Donovan, the corner back. I was at the Laois game, and I think nearly every Clare player scored except Donald O'Donovan, right? And today he comes in the last minute when the need is greatest, and he puts the ball.
Was he the last man you'd have in that position?
Donald himself would say that.
And if you look at the way he catches the hurley in general play, catches the hurley halfway up. You know,
but what a man, though.
What a man to have the guts to take that.
There are men. And then it's Donald. All right, then. Well, let's hear from the two team hotels. We'll hear from the Clare Hotel in a moment. But first, we'll head to the Cork Hotel and join Michael Lester.
Well, you know, I suppose this has been one of those strange days in the hurling championship where at the end of it, a lot of people perhaps don't know whether to laugh or cry. Now, neutrals, I guess, will laugh because they're going to get another day out to see these two great counties do battle once again. Maybe for some of those involved, it's a different story. We're here at the moment at the Burlington Hotel in South County Dublin. This is the Cork function, but of course there is no Liam McCarthy Cup here, but we do have Jimmy Barry Murphy, the Cork manager, and also Pa Cronin, of course, the Cork captain. Jimmy, as I said, this is a kind of a strange moment. Had you in any way in your head allowed for this over the past week?
No, not really. I mean, I think when you're getting ready for an All-Ireland final, you don't factor in a draw. I mean, it has happened so rarely, apart from last year, of course, and now we're again facing the same scenario. But no, you don't think in those terms. You think about winning or losing, I suppose, really, at the end of the day, and just hope that you win.
Now that you have drawn the match, now that you are here, is tonight one of those things where you kind of just get through the night and just sort of forget about the match for a while if you can?
Yeah, I mean, people have paid a lot of money to come here to Dublin for the weekend and put a lot of effort into organising the function, so you've got to go ahead and respect that. And, you know, I think it's a bit unusual, as I say, I haven't been through this myself before, and it's just a thing we've got to get through and enjoy it as best we can, and look forward to the replay.
I suppose, Pa, for most of us, this took us by surprise because when there was a draw last year for the first time in decades, we weren't expecting two in a row. I'm sure you weren't.
Yeah, exactly. I think I heard during the week it was, 57 years since the draw last year, so two in a row is just, we weren't planning for it, So, look, we live to look another day anyway,
Just let me take you back briefly to the match. The only time you led the game was in time added on. Did you feel, Pa, that this game was going away from you?
I suppose at certain times it did, but the momentum was changing every couple of minutes, and we put in the last couple of minutes we were very good, and overall I think a draw was a fair result.
Jimmy, you have 3 weeks to plan, but I suppose the next couple of days are going to be important. Have you, since the final whistle, thought about that even? What are you going to do with the lads? When are you going to get together again? Anything like that?
We'll just have to review it over the next couple of days, Michael. I mean, I'm not sure what the situation with club games. We'll have to assess that with the board officials to see what the situation is and then plan after that.
All right, lads. Well, listen, we thank you very much for your time. We do look forward to the replay. We hope it's as good a game as this drawn match has been. Well, as I said, here at the Burlington Hotel, there is no silverware to celebrate, but then I suppose there are no sorrows to drown either. We will do all of this again.
Well, we're here in the Clyde Court Hotel with the Clare team. The heartbeat and the heart rate is coming back to normal. And we're joined with the Clare manager, Davy Fitzgerald, and captain, Pat Donlan. Davy, now that you've had time to reflect and think about this match, it was some game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. Great advertisement for hurling. The courage outside there, the tackling, the blocking was immense, and I'm just so proud of the guys. They're great young lads, so they are, and they never give up on anything.
When Pat Horgan scored that point, did you think this is it, curtains for Clare?
No, not with this bunch. No matter what the story is, they'll fight to the end. And when you work with them, I suppose the last year and a half, you'd know that. We push them at the end of training, they'll respond at the end of training. So our motto is just keep fighting, but fair play to Cork as well. They played their part in a massive game.
What's the reaction of the dressing room, the lads? Do they feel disappointed that they didn't win today?
No, we're very relieved to have another day out. Look, we were very conscious there at the end of the game that we looked like we were going home as losers. So just delighted to have another day out in a couple of weeks. And look, All-Ireland final again. We play them every week if we could. So great to have another one.
if there was one man that you wanted to have the ball in the last second, would it be Donal O'Donovan at cornerback?
Would it be Donny? I'm delighted to see him today anyhow, and the shooting boots are on, so it was. Donny was phenomenal today from the word go. He's taken a lot of stick at different times this year in Clare, unjustly so in my opinion. So I was delighted to see him going up today. He's a man of character, and we're absolutely delighted to have him as one of us and to do that at the very end.
And we're all looking forward to the replay. Pat Donnelly and Davy Fitzgerald. The replay is on September 28th, and if you can get a ticket, you're lucky.
All right, the spirits seem high enough there. Donal, briefly, who's in a better place in your view going into the replay?
That's hard to know, Des. I think like both teams will have learnt a lot about themselves and each other, and there'll be, you know, a lot of analysis over the next couple of weeks. But I think the most important thing is to get the players back and get them fresh physically, but as importantly, get them fresh mentally.
And briefly, Ger, some Clare fans might be worrying the 21 final coming up. Will that affect Clare?
I don't think so. No, I don't think. Actually, it'll be a break because there's about 14 of the players on the panel for the on the senior panel as well. So it'll give a lot of those players a chance to show their wares to Davy in the under-21 final next Saturday. I would say, you know, Cork will say that they won't be as bad again, but you cannot underestimate the character of this Clare team and the belief they have in themselves. We'll be back 3 weeks' time.
All right. Time to name our man of the match from this afternoon. Donal, you have the nominees.
So the nominees are Podge Collins. He got 3 points from play and 1 4 frees. Secondly, we have really impressive today. When there wasn't anybody else standing up for Cork in the first half in the forward line, he was the man there, and maybe to a lesser extent, Patrick Horgan. And then finally, we've got Conor Ryan at centre back. Absolutely outstanding. Got a point today that reminded me of Kieran Carey back in the mid-90s.
That's a tribute. Who did you give it to then? It wasn't easy, obviously, Ali.
Eventually we went with Conor Ryan. Des had an absolutely fantastic game. You know, I remarked, I think after 4 or 5 minutes, he'd been on the ball 3 or 4 times. This is a guy coming into his 3rd championship match. You know, phenomenal. I think his point in the 61st minute really capped off an absolutely fantastic performance and well deserved.
OK, big honour for him. Congratulations to Conor. Let's hear then from the man from Cratloe.
Conor, it looked for so long today like you would be going home with the cup.
Well, I suppose we never really thought we were home and dry. You know, we really were just concentrating on the final whistle, and I suppose we're very relieved that we're going to be back there again. We thought we were dead and buried there with 72 minutes gone. We were lucky we gave the puck out and felt to Donny of all people, and he stuck it over the bar. You know, so we're relieved we're there again another day. We can't really complain about that.
Outstanding performance from you, just your 3rd championship game. You'll learn a lot from this experience.
I suppose as a whole we will learn a lot. You know, there's a lot of hype that goes with an All-Ireland final, so maybe we can kind of negate that the next day and just go straight at it, go at the game again next day, and hopefully be as good as game it was out there again today.
We hope so. Well, Conor, congratulations. You are the RTE GAA Man of the Match, and GAA President Liam O'Neill is here to hand over the award.
Well done. Well done.
Come on, Conor. Well, we've lots more talking points to come. And I know you're all waiting in Waterford. We have the